Hello, my name is Emma. I'm 68 years old, a widow, and I live in a quiet little town called Ashford, nestled in the evergreens of Oregon. Life here moves gently, just the way I like it. I have my morning tea by the window, listen to the birds, and read the local paper. Nothing ever happens in Ashford. At least, that's what I thought. Until that morning. It was late October. The maple leaves had turned golden, and the fog still hung low when I opened the mailbox. Bills, catalogs, and then an envelope from Wells Union Bank. I wasn't expecting anything from the bank. I haven't taken out a loan in over 30 years. But the letter inside said otherwise. Final notice past due payment on home loan. Amount owed $918.522. My breath caught. I read it again. And again. And again. My hands trembled. They said I was 3 months behind on a mortgage I never signed. For a home I didn't buy. In a city I haven't visited in years. I sat down right there on my porch swing. Letter in hand. As the wind picked up and the chill sank into my bones. Was this a scam? I called the bank. After an hour of transfers and holding music, a man named Carl confirmed everything the loan was real. The papers were signed under my name, my social security number, my tax ID. The house was in Bend, Oregon, 2 hours away. I told him there had to be a mistake. He said, "Ma'am, unless someone forged your identity, you legally owe this money?" I hung up. My heart was pounding. My ears were ringing. For a moment, I thought I might faint. I called my son. No answer. I called my daughter, Samantha. "Mom, can we not do this right now?" she said. Her voice was sharp, unrecognizable. "Don't make a scene." A scene I was drowning. I looked around my quiet little kitchen-framed photos. Ceramic mugs. A fridge full of meals. For one, what happens to someone like me when the world flips upside down? What do you do when the ones you love may be the ones who betrayed you? I didn't know it then. But that letter would unravel everything. My peace, my family, and eventually myself. But also, it would awaken something I'd forgotten, my worth. After the call with the bank, I felt like the air in my lungs had turned to stone. I sat alone in the kitchen. That letter still clenched in my hand, like it might bite me if I let go. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My tea had gone cold. Untouched. I needed answers. Real ones. First, I called my son, Bradley. He's a mechanical engineer. Always busy. Always in meetings. This time, I got voicemail. "Hey, it's Mom. I need to talk to you. It's important. Please call me." Nothing. Then I called my daughter, Samantha. She picked up on the second ring. There was music in the background. Laughter. Clinking glasses. Maybe a party. "Mom, what's going on?" she asked. Her voice tight. I explained everything: the letter, the loan, the address in Bend. There was a long pause on the line. "Samantha, did you or anyone in the family use my name to buy a house?" "What? No. Of course not. That's ridiculous," she said quickly. "I haven't signed any documents." "Sam, but my name is on them. The loan is real." Another pause. Then her tone changed. "Mom, this isn't the time. I've got guests over. You're overreacting. Don't call the police or anything." Okay, she hung up before I could respond. I sat there for a while. The kitchen felt colder, the silence heavier. I looked around at the family photos. Christmas in '03. Sam in her graduation cap. Bradley holding Maddie as a baby. Smiles that now felt distant. I didn't want to believe it. What kind of child would do that to their mother? But my gut told me something had shifted. Her voice wasn't just annoyed, it was scared. And not the kind of scared you get when someone accuses you of something you didn't do. It was the fear of getting caught. The next day, I drove by the post office and sent a certified letter to the bank requesting the full loan file. I had no plan, just instinct. I wasn't ready to accuse my children. I wasn't ready to face what that might mean. But deep down, I knew this wasn't a clerical error. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was betrayal, painted with a family smile. And the worst part, I had no idea how far it had already gone. 2 weeks passed. I spent those days pacing around the house, rereading that letter, like it held a secret I'd missed. Then, one afternoon, the package from the bank arrived. Inside was a copy of the loan documents, my name, my social security number, my signature, all perfectly forged. And then I saw it. The property address, 2547 Elm Creek Drive, Bend, Oregon, a 5-bedroom home. San, 800 square feet, 3-car garage, and a marble foyer that screamed money I never had. I blinked. That address sounded familiar. I grabbed my iPad and opened Instagram. Samantha had recently tagged a location in Bend. A birthday party. Balloons. Crystal chandeliers. Catered sushi. In one of the photos, she posed in front of a staircase with silver railings. I compared it to the online real estate listing. It was the same house. My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen. Heart pounding. There she was. My daughter. Smiling wide, like a queen in her castle. A castle bought with my name. Everything inside me recoiled. I wanted it not to be true. I wanted it to be some insane coincidence. But it wasn't. I zoomed in on one photo. My granddaughter Maddie. Wearing a red velvet dress. Blowing out candles. Behind her, hanging on the wall above the fireplace, was a framed photo of Samantha and her husband, Ethan, holding wine glasses in front of a sold sign. The caption read, "New Beginnings. Dream house. Dream life. Number blessed." I sat back, my breath shaky. This wasn't just a mistake. This was deliberate, calculated, heartless. And yet, a part of me hesitated. What kind of mother calls the cops on her own daughter? What kind of family ends over paperwork? But I knew this wasn't about a house. It was about being used, about being invisible, about trusting someone with your life, and realizing they sold it for a down payment. I closed the iPad and looked around my modest home paint chipped in the corners. The old recliner where my husband used to nap. The kitchen table we built together. I had always given everything to my children. And now, I wondered, was there anything left of me that they hadn't taken? But the real question echoed louder than the rest. What do you do when the person who broke your heart shares your blood? It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when Samantha showed up at my door. Dressed in a sleek beige coat and ankle boots that probably cost more than my monthly groceries. She didn't call ahead. She never does. She just appeared, like, always expecting me to drop everything. "Hey, Mom," she said lightly, brushing rain from her shoulders. I thought I'd stop by. I stepped aside without a word. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon. I'd baked a pie to calm my nerves. But my hands had been too shaky to slice it. She sat at the table like nothing had changed. Like we were still mother and daughter and not whatever we were now. I saw the pictures. I said, "Steady but key it." She blinked. "What pictures of the house?" "The one in Bend. The house that's in my name. The one I'm apparently paying for." Her smile faltered. For the first time in a long time, she looked like a little girl again, caught red-handed, with cookie crumbs on her face. "Mom," she said, her voice tightening, "I really don't think this is the time to bring up." I slid the mortgage documents across the table. I didn't sign these, and I wasn't in Bend that day. I was at the cardiology clinic in Salem. I have proof. Her eyes narrowed. The mask dropped. "You don't understand how hard it's been for us. Ethan lost his job. Maddie needed stability. The market was right. And we were going to pay it back." I stared at her. "You took my name," I said softly. "You took my credit, my identity, and you bought yourself a dream life. You lied to me." She stood abruptly. "Snatching the papers? Don't you dare turn this into a courtroom drama. You're being dramatic. This is family. We don't call lawyers on each other." I didn't say anything. I didn't yell. I just looked at her. Really looked at her. And I didn't see my little girl anymore. I saw a woman who had made a decision, a choice to put her comfort above my dignity. She stormed out with the documents in hand, slamming the door behind her. I stood in the silence, heart thudding, the smell of cinnamon suddenly sickening. This was no longer about confusion, no longer about misunderstanding. This was about who I was going to be from this moment on. The mother who kept forgiving, or the woman who finally said enough? The morning after Samantha slammed my door, I sat in front of my cold tea and dialed a number scribbled on a Post-it note I'd kept tucked inside a cookbook for years. Vanessa Brooks, a friend of a friend. Alavier, the kind you call when things go really wrong. Her voice was sharp, but kind. "Emma, come in tomorrow. Bring everything." The next day, I drove 2 hours to Eugene, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding me together. Vanessa's office was small, tucked behind a bakery that smelled like fresh sourdough. And Hope? She was younger than I expected, mid-40s. Tailored navy blazer, eyes that missed nothing. I laid the documents out on her desk. She read in silence, then looked up and asked gently, "Do you know what elder financial abuse is?" I swallowed. "I do now." Vanessa leaned back. This wasn't just a mistake. "Emma, this was organized, premeditated. Whoever filed these documents knew exactly what they were doing, and they counted on you not fighting back." I felt the sting behind my eyes. "Do you want to?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes. I don't know how." Vanessa got to work immediately. She pulled title reports, bank transfer logs, and traced the LLC that technically owned the home in Bend. The name on it, Red Pine Properties, LLC, owned by Ethan Myers, Samantha's husband. The house wasn't just in my name for the loan. The property was protected behind a shell company, a clean shield, built on dirty hands. Then Vanessa showed me something else, the notarized documents. The signature, mine but not mine. I was in Salem the day this was signed. I said, "I have a heart monitor appointment and a prescription pickup to prove it." She smiled. "Good." Then we billed, for the first time in weeks. I felt something that wasn't fear or shame. I felt seen. That evening, as I drove home, rain tapping against the windshield, I replayed Vanessa's words in my head. They counted on you not fighting back. I had been invisible for too long, quiet for too long. But maybe, just maybe, this time, I wasn't going to disappear. This time, I would be the storm. 3 weeks later, I got an invitation, a printed card, glossy and gold-edged, slid through my mailbox like a snake in silk. You're cordially invited to celebrate the new home of Ethan and Samantha Myers, 2547 Elm Creek Drive. Catered cocktails, live jazz, business casual. They had the audacity to invite me to the very house they stole from me. I stared at the invitation for a long time, then folded it slowly, deliberately, and tucked it into my purse. Vanessa called that morning with an update. The forged notary was under investigation. The mortgage company had opened a fraud case. Things were moving. Still want to play it quiet? She asked. No. I said, I think it's time I showed up. The sky was a burnished orange. The evening I pulled up to the house in Bend, a valet offered to park my car. I declined. I wanted control tonight down to the last step. The home was stunning, gleaming floors, vaulted ceilings, soft lighting that made everyone look richer. Happia. Untouchable. Samantha spotted me across the foyer, her champagne flute pausing midair. Mom, she said, voice tight. You came. I smiled politely. I wouldn't miss it. She wasn't expecting that. Guests mingled. Waiters passed crab cakes and wine. Laughter danced through the air, like nothing in the world could touch this little palace. Until Vanessa walked in. She was dressed in black, professional and precise. Holding a brown envelope in one hand, Samantha's face turned pale. What is this? She whispered. Vanessa nodded at me. Emma, you can do it if you'd like. I stepped forward, heart steady, voice stronger than I expected. This, I said, holding up the envelope, is the beginning of truth. Gasps rippled. Someone dropped a glass. I didn't sign the mortgage. I continued. I didn't know about the loan. And tonight, I'm here not to ruin your party, but to reclaim my name. Samantha tried to speak, but the room had turned. I turned to go. I wasn't there to fight. I was there to be seen. And as I walked out that grand, echoing door, I realized something. This house, for all its glass and grandeur, wasn't built on dreams. It was built on lies. And tonight, those walls had started to crack. The morning after the party, my phone buzzed nonstop. Voicemails, emails, text messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Apparently, someone at the party had recorded everything. My words, Vanessa's entrance, Samantha's frozen expression. The confrontation had made its way online, shared by a local real estate blogger, then picked up by a financial watchdog channel. Within 24 hours, it had gone viral. Elderly woman exposes daughter's real estate fraud at luxury housewarming. I wasn't ready for the attention. But maybe that was the point. No one ever is. Local news called. A podcast host emailed. Even a woman from Idaho named Marlene messaged me on Facebook. My daughter did something similar to me. She wrote, I thought I was alone. Thank you for standing up. And then came the bank. Vanessa forwarded me an official letter. They were suspending the foreclosure and launching a full-scale investigation. The forged notary had been traced to someone connected with Ethan's old firm. The house was being frozen under a restraining order until the legal case played out. It didn't stop there. Two of Samantha and Ethan's close friends, both real estate investors, pulled out of a business deal with them the same week. Word had spread, and no one wanted their name tied to what people were now calling the Elm Creek fraud. But with every piece of justice came a strange, aching silence from inside my own chest. Bradley, my son, finally called, "Mom, I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know." His voice cracked in a way I hadn't heard since he was a teenager. I believed him. Part of me still wanted to believe in the good. And Samantha, nothing. Not a word. Not a text. She disappeared behind her locked gates and frozen smile. That weekend, I sat on my porch, swing same spot where it all began, and just breathed. It wasn't over. The legal battle would take months, maybe years, but something inside me had shifted. I wasn't just someone's mother. I wasn't just a signature on a loan. I was a woman who refused to be erased. And for every stranger who wrote to say me too, I realized something. This fight wasn't just mine anymore. It was ours. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when I found the envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name, written in familiar handwriting that made my heart twist. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No, dear Mom. No apology. Just a letter from Samantha. Written like a confession, but without the courage to sign her name at the bottom. I never meant for it to go this far. Ethan said we'd pay it off within the year. I told myself you'd understand eventually. I told myself you didn't need that kind of money anymore. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared of failing. Scared of losing the life I thought I deserved. And I'm sorry. No explanation for the forged signature. No acknowledgement of the sleepless nights. The foreclosure letters. The shame I carried into every grocery store. But still, it was something, a crack in the silence. I took the letter to Vanessa. She read it with her lawyer's eyes, then folded it gently. "It's not an admission," she said, "but it's human. And that matters too." That night, I sat at my dining table with a candle flickering beside me and read the letter out loud. Not for Samantha, not for the courts, but for myself. Sometimes, the voice we need to hear most is our own. I thought about all the things I'd never said to her, about the afternoons I spent sewing her Halloween costumes, the late nights waiting for her to come home from high school dances, the way I used to tuck her hair behind her ear when she cried about boys and math and growing up. I had loved her through every season, but I couldn't love her through this silence. She had built a wall, and for the first time, I was done trying to climb it. I folded the letter, placed it in a small wooden box, along with a photo of us from years ago before lies, before lawyers, and closed the lid. Some things are meant to be remembered. Some things are meant to be let go. And some things, they become the firewood we burn to keep ourselves warm through the coldest parts of life. Winter came early that year. The leaves barely had time to turn gold before the wind pulled them down. Scattered like pieces of the past, I watched from my porch as the first snowflakes fell soft, silent, and unbothered by all the noise the world had thrown at me. It had been 6 months since the confrontation, since the letter, since I'd stopped expecting a knock at the door or a text that never came. I wasn't waiting anymore. Instead, I filled my days with things that made me feel whole. I started volunteering at the local library, helping kids with reading assignments. They reminded me of simpler times before mortgages and betrayal, when love was shown through lunchbox notes and bedtime stories. I also joined a support group, women over 60, who'd been financially betrayed by family. I sat in a circle of gray hair and wisdom and listened to stories that echoed my own. One woman, Dolores, had lost her savings to her grandson. Another, Jean, had been tricked into signing over the deed to her home. And yet, there, we were still standing, still laughing. Even, Vanessa became more than a lawyer. She became a friend. She would drop by every few weeks with legal updates and fresh-baked muffins. The case was progressing. The forged signature had been officially recognized as fraud, and the house was now listed under court control. The bank has agreed to clear your name from the mortgage. She told me one chilly morning, "You won't owe a penny?" I cried not because of the money, but because I felt like I had finally been given back something priceless, my dignity. One evening, Bradley came by with his 2 sons. He brought chili and cornbread and an apology that didn't need words. He helped me fix the creaky step on the porch. We didn't talk about Samantha. We didn't have to. Sometimes healing isn't found in conversations. It's found in shared silence, and the comfort of knowing someone still shows up. As we sat on the porch, watching the snow settle like a fresh start, I realized something. I hadn't just survived this storm. I had walked through it and rebuilt my life, one brick of truth at a time. And as the wind howled outside, I whispered to myself, I am not what they took from me. I am what I chose to build in its place. It was spring when the call came. A producer from a national morning show had seen the viral video and read the articles. She spoke gently. Respectfully, "We'd love to have you on." "Emma," she said, "note for drama, for strength. Your story's helping people." My first instinct was to decline. I wasn't a woman who chased spotlights. I was a woman who baked pies on Sundays and kept letters in wooden boxes. But Vanessa reminded me, this isn't about you being seen. It's about others being heard. So, I said yes. The studio was bright and polished. Makeup artists brushed foundation on my cheeks. A stylist gently smoothed my sweater. And then, just like that, I was seated across from a host named Rachel. Lights glowing and cameras rolling. She smiled. "Emma, what made you speak up?" I took a breath. Steady and calm. Because silence was costing me more than truth ever could. I shared the story not with bitterness, but with clarity. I spoke of trust broken, of names misused, of the loneliness that comes when the people you love most betray you. I told them about Vanessa, about the porch swing, about the letter I read out loud to myself when no one else would listen. And then I said this: there are thousands of us mothers, grandmothers, veterans, retired teachers, people who gave their lives to love and labor, only to be told they don't matter anymore. But we do. We still do. When the interview aired, I expected some messages, but I wasn't prepared for the flood. Emails from Minnesota, letters from Oklahoma. A woman in Maine wrote, "You saved my life. I thought I was stupid for trusting my son. Now I know I was just loving." Local papers did follow-ups. Nonprofits reached out. Vanessa and I spoke at town halls, libraries, churches. We helped pass a bill in Oregon expanding protections against elder financial abuse. One afternoon, I stood in front of a crowd of 300 people in a school gym. I looked out at the faces, young, old, strangers, and said, "I am Emma. I lost my name once, but I found my voice, and now I'm using it for all of us." The applause didn't matter. What mattered was that somewhere in the back, a woman with shaking hands clutched her daughter's arm and whispered, "If she can speak, maybe I can too."